Conventional science recognizes that all matter, each molecule of everything on Earth and beyond, oscillates at its own distinct frequency.
Can the amplified voice of Ella Fitzgerald shatter this glass?
The atoms that come together to form a molecule are held together with an energy bond that both emits and absorbs its own specific electromagnetic frequency. No two species of molecules have the same electromagnetic oscillations or energetic signature. By increasing the intensity of the harmonic frequency of the molecular structure of the wine glass, science can cause the glass to shatter.
Believe it.
This is a commonly accepted law of nature. So why can't other molecules be isolated and destroyed in the same way? Why can't the oscillation frequencies of killer viruses like cancer and AIDS be identified and destroyed? Why hasn't someone performed the research? Well, someone has. Royal Raymond Rife was a brilliant scientist who was born in 1888 and died in 1971. His studies at Johns Hopkins University led to his development of the technologies that are still commonly used today in the fields of optics, electronics, radiochemistry, biochemistry, ballistics, and aviation. He received 14 major awards and honors, including an honorary doctorate from the University of Heidelberg. During the 30 years that Rife spent designing and building medical instruments, he worked for Zeiss Optics, the U.S. government, and several private benefactors. Because Rife was self-educated in so many different fields, he intuitively looked for his answers in areas beyond the rigid scientific structure of his day. He had mastered so many different disciplines that he literally had at his intellectual disposal the skills and knowledge of an entire team of scientists and technicians from a number of different scientific fields. So whenever new technology was needed to perform a new task, Rife simply invented and then built it himself. In 1920, Rife began investigating the possibilities of treating disease with electricity. He discovered that each disease he studied had different electrical characteristics and started subjecting these organisms to different electrical frequencies. His first virus microscope complete, Rife performed tens of thousands of lab tests in an effort to isolate the microorganism that caused tuberculosis. Traditional scientific procedure requires the staining of samples to make them visible under the microscope. Unfortunately, the minuteness of the viruses made them impossible to stain with the existing acid-based stains. Rife conceived a method of staining the samples with light and began building a microscope that would enable the frequency of light to correspond with the electrical frequency of the microorganism under observation. His cancer research began in 1922, but it would take until 1932, after thousands of tests, that he was able to isolate the microorganism which he named the BX virus. By 1933, he had perfected that technology and had constructed the incredibly complex universal microscope, which is capable of magnifying objects 60,000 times their normal size. With this incredible microscope, Rife became the first human being to actually see a live virus. Until quite recently, the universal microscope was the only microscope able to view a live virus. Rife painstakingly identified the individual spectroscopic signature of each microbe. Colleagues of Rife reported his incredible patience, sitting at the microscope many times for over 24 hours straight without a break. Once he discovered the oscillation rate of a particular organism, Rife concentrated on refining his method of destroying it. He used the same principle to kill the virus as he had used to make the organism visible: light frequency resonance. By increasing the intensity of a frequency that resonated naturally within these microbes, Rife increased their natural oscillations until they distorted and disintegrated from structural stresses without harming the surrounding tissue. Rife called this frequency the mortal oscillatory rate, or MOR. Half a century later, doctors began using a like technology known as lithotripsy, where kidney stones are destroyed with high-energy shock waves. Identify the MOR of cancer cells, turn up the volume and destroy them without damaging the host organism. It sounds like a scientific miracle, but will it work on the human body?
In 1934, a clinical study was set up at the Scripps Annex. Now, this is the Scripps Ranch. It was owned by Ellen Scripp. And there they set up a clinical study under the auspices of Dr. Milbank Johnson. And they had a team of physicians that examined terminal cancer patients. Every one of those patients was declared terminal by their group of scientists that was involved in this study. Dr. Rife would take some of the blood, examine, find the particular frequency for that organism for that patient, tune that instrument to the patient. Within 2 months, 14 of the 16 patients were declared cured by this team of physicians. It took another 6 weeks to cure the remaining 2. 100% cure rate.
Unfortunately, this all happened in 1934, and the participants of that study are long gone, so there isn't anyone around that can give a first-hand account of the success of Rife's technology. Or is there?
In May 2002, a lump appeared on my chest, and it just came up overnight. It wasn't sore. I had not been feeling bad, a little tired, and anyway, I went straight away to the doctor, and they ran tests. They didn't seem too concerned about it. They ran tests, called me the same afternoon, and told me it was very bad, and it was stage 4 cancer, and I had 90 days to live.
Through the problem of being put on dialysis at the same time, and my feet were so swollen and legs were so swollen until I wasn't even able to wear shoes. I even developed varicose veins in my legs.
I was diagnosed with cancer 9 years ago. I've had 2 operations, and this 3rd time I was diagnosed in January and was only given to me to live.
Well, I couldn't sleep in the bed. I had to sleep on the couch because I could lean up against the couch, you know, the back of it. My wife fed me laying down, and I think I looked like a spider going across the floor. I'd lost so much weight.
I have pulmonary fibrosis. I was told in April of 2002 to get my affairs in order, that I was going to die.
One night my throat started bleeding right on the tonsil, and went into the emergency room, and the doc looked at it and said, well, that looks like a tumor to me, and I wasn't used to looking in the back of my throat, so I hadn't been looking back there, and anyway, biopsied it, and it was cancer.
I got respiratory arthritis. It's a cripple disease, and it makes you cripple after you get older. Well, older people got it, but I'm young. But the doctor told me when I get older, I will be crippled and stuff.
I had pneumonia 5 times in 2 years. It required 2 sinus surgeries, 1 hernia surgery, tubes in my ears twice.
4 foot of metal rods in my back, 4 foot of wire, 4 hooks, 4 screws, and a bone grout. I tore the spinal cord into a T11.
By the time I would get home in the evening, I would be hurting so bad the only thing I could do was lay on my stomach and rub my hip.
You have to deal with complete fatigue, and when I talk about complete fatigue, I mean you are as tired as you could possibly imagine being tired, and it does not go away.
In my right hand, I had arthritis real bad, and I'm a hairdresser, and that interfered with my work.
And I became involved to save my best friend from cancer. Fortunately for him, I happened to have made a lot of money during my photography career, and when he got sick, went through everything that he had to go through with orthodox medicine, sent him on to die. We began looking for different things.
He worked with California and Western medicine.
Beam Ray President Lynn Kenny rediscovered the Rife technology in 1986 when a close friend was diagnosed with cancer and given only 6 months to a year to live. While his doctors gave him little hope of survival, Lynn never wavered in his pursuit of a cure. His research into nutrition and alternative treatments led to his discovery of Dr. Rife and his work.
Then we stumbled across at a conference Rife's work and a book about Rife. I'd found on a bookend table a single sheet of paper. Had a little story about Lakhovsky and his multiple wave oscillator. We had Tesla and what he had done, his contributions to society. Third paragraph was about Dr. Royal Rife, the microscopes he invented and the beam ray device that he had used to destroy infectious organisms, viruses, bacteria, fungus in the body. And as I read that, I thought, man, this is the answer, if it's true. So from that point, I just dove into trying to find things on Rife, and I couldn't really find anything. He wasn't in the medical books, and there just wasn't anything to be found. And then within about 3 months, a book came out called The Cancer Cure That Worked, 50 Years of Suppression. And I got that, went through those references, went and looked up everything that was in there, learned how to do research, found newspaper articles, medical articles, science articles on Dr. Royal Rife and his work. So I've been able to obtain the estate of one of the gentlemen who worked with Rife for over 22 years. He has original beam tubes, one of the original working machines, who's helped us tremendously. We paid a huge amount of money to obtain a lot of Rife's original lab notes, film footage and everything. We own the original 16mm film to Rife's lab. We're able to look at the waveform patterns that he used, recreate, add more harmonics, better ringing effect, quicker rise and fall times, things that make this work. And my best friend was the guinea pig for it because he had nothing to lose.
Inspired by the incredible success of the beam ray technology, Lynn founded the Beam Ray Corporation to help others learn about Dr. Rife and his incredible healing technology.
For the past 16 years, as we've been developing this technology, we've gotten into a major Midwest hospital. We've been able to obtain an IRB that allows us to work with human patients in the study for pain relief, pain management. We've done several in vitro studies. We are currently involved with a major university who for the past 2 years has been studying the effects of this on the known cancer cell lines in vitro studies. We've picked up a lot of information there. So we have some medical doctors who are currently using our equipment to see the effects of what it will do for pain relief. And in doing these studies, we have found that not only is it great for pain relief, but it's great at relieving the symptoms of a lot of other things. Parasites for one thing, virus, fungus, bacteria. In cancer, we have seen cancer tumors disappear. We have the medical doctors coming to us and saying, I know that my clients are sitting under this light for pain relief and pain management, but we've also noticed that their tumors are shrinking or completely going away. And we've collected that medical data, and eventually we hope to present that to the FDA also. But right now our current thing is to help people who do not have a choice, who have exhausted all of their options with orthodox medicine, chemo, radiation, surgery, or whatever may be offered in an experimental program. Generally, we're their last hope. And generally by the time they get to us, they're in extreme pain or some type of pain on heavy morphine and stuff. And we offer them an opportunity to at least try something that's non-invasive, non-toxic, very little to no side effects to alleviate this pain. And it's free of charge to them.
The way that I heard about the light, the Counseling on Aging was bringing me from Lake Charles for a visit. And I had just gone to a community concern meeting, and she asked, did we hear about the light? And I thought maybe we were getting a new light here in town, you know, and she said, no, the light at Kathy's house. When I started coming here, my feet was swelling. And I knew from my feet swelling, it either had to be my heart or the kidney. I kept telling the doctor, I don't want to go on dialysis. Do you hear me? I don't want to go. And I told him, I said, I'm not going. Do you hear me? And all of the readings were leading up to dialysis, you know. And one doctor told me he was going to let me get worse, you know. So I switched and went to another doctor. I was taking the medicine that the doctor prescribed, and I wasn't getting any better, and I was having the blood work done, and the creatinine wasn't going down, you know. And so when the doctor told me I had to get, I was still coming when he was telling me, you know, you need to be on it, you know, and I kept saying, I don't want to go. And I said, the Lord know that I don't want. And he told me, he said, well, that's going to be the only thing the Lord is going to. I said, well, I'm not going on dialysis. And I just started coming and really staying on the alfalfa tablets. I knew I was getting better the second time when I went to see him, because I had been having to go every week. And then he put it off to 2 months, and I knew I was getting better then. But now I'm able to wear shoes, and I wasn't able to wear shoes.
Well, I had a miracle happen, I think. I was down in my back. Had been from September to 2002 until the 14th of February this year. Lost 35 pounds. I went to doctors, back doctors, bone doctors, and I found out he didn't do backs. And I got an MRI down at Lake Charles, and they couldn't find any indication of a pinched nerve. And went to chiropractors, and shoot, nothing was doing any good. I finally